Welcome to the Itch Network podcast. The date is November 21st, 2019. I'm with my esteemed colleagues, Eric.
What's up?
Soon to be Mr. Eric. and Rosie.
Yeah, she liked it, so she put a ring on it.
That's right. We got a lot of exciting news today. We got a review of Pokemon
Sword and Shield.
We got some Google Stadia stuff to talk about. And then a question about finite gaming. But before we get into all that, Eric, Mr. Big News, Mr. Big Shot, what have you been playing this week?
I have been playing Pokemon Sword. And I played a little bit more of Final Fantasy PvP, 14 PvP.
Okay. Oh, wow. So I guess we're all going to be talking about Pokemon today. It's a three-man review.
What?
Whoa.
We haven't had that in a long-ass time.
That's just correct. Rosie, what have you been playing?
Pokemon Sword. And that's it, honestly. Yeah, this Pokemon Sword.
I'm playing Pokemon Shield. And a little bit of League of Legends Teamfight Tactics, which I recommended to you, and I'm sure you haven't played yet because you're a cretin. But
Well,
I figured we'd skip on over just since we all are talking about Pokemon here. Let's go. Who beat it?
I did.
nope.
I did not either. Eric, how far are you?
I just beat my first gym leader.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Which I found out that there's different gym leaders in the different versions.
Oh, there are?
What?
Yeah. Yeah, there's I don't remember which version's which, but there's like a ghost gym leader and I think a fighting gym leader.
No, that's in Shield, or that's in Sword too.
That's in Sword. Okay, so one of them, like, there's two gym leaders that swap out.
Whoa. Okay. Is it the water one? Because my friend didn't mention. Oh, it has to be because my friend didn't mention Fairy, and he has Shield.
Let's see here, Pokemon Sword gym leaders.
Well, now it's settled. I have to play the other version.
That's actually smart of them to do. Holy crap!
I'm not playing
'Cause now-
shit.
Yeah, you're not gonna do it, but still, I mean, but at least I'm more intrigued. And if you're like a Pokemon fanatic and that's all you ever play, you're definitely gonna get and play both of them through.
Yeah, but you were going to do that anyway.
Yeah, but now you have more maybe incentive.
Maybe.
So the fighting gym leader is Bia.
Mm-hmm.
That's Sword only. And in Shield, it's Alistair, the ghost type. And then in Sword, you have the rock type. But in Shield, you have an ice type. And then Leon is the fairy type.
Leon? Leon's the fairy type? That's a different whole person.
Oh, Beady is the fairy type.
Like to start off with, or to begin with. And that's a little bit of a spoiler.
Bede. It says other trainers. Beady is a fairy type Pokemon.
When we talk about the review, so the name Opal doesn't come in there at all for the fairy?
Yeah, gym number 5, Opal.
Okay, yeah. Got it. I was just curious.
Okay, I've beaten all the gyms. I'm waiting to go to the Elite Four. Or I assume whatever the equivalent of the Elite Four is. Rosie, how are you? You said you've beaten it, right?
Beating it, doing max raids, doing the battle tower right now, catching up to 210 Pokemon. I'm just doing the poking thing, man. Like, I'm done at the end game. I already got some max IV Pokemon at the moment. Working on that easy.
All right. Well, since you've beaten it, what do you
Take
think?
the lead.
Let's hear it.
Pokemon is Pokemon's good. If I have to rate it, I'll give it like it's always gonna be a good game, 8 out of 10. I feel like for the Switch though, I was expecting just a little bit more, and I don't know what that more is. Just like a little bit.
When you say that, are you referring to the controversy?
No, not
behind it?
necessarily. Not necessarily. Not the cut content, but this is literally a Pokemon game from the DS on a Switch, and I don't mean that in a good way. It's literally the same thing, and I expected maybe a little bit grandier. It looks just as nice, maybe a little bit crisper on the Switch than it is on the DS, but
When you say DS, you mean the 3DS.
3DS, yeah. I'm not all right. Should I say 3DS? But I do mean 3DS. Yes.
Yeah, I think if you mean to say 3DS, you should say 3DS.
Okay, sorry. So yes, it's a little crisper. I hate you. So it looks a little crisper on the 3DS, crispier than on the 3DS. But I mean, it's lit like same 400 Pokemon. They reuse the animations. There's nothing in here that really just like this is the game on the Switch. Like this is the different. This is why it's on the Switch as opposed to on the 3DS. You know what I mean?
I'll be honest. Like the whole conversation about how this was the first console Pokemon. When someone said that to me, I was like, oh yeah. But I've literally just been laying in bed playing it with it like in my hand, like a handheld.
And it's
I've also
weird.
been doing a lot of pooping while playing.
Yeah, that's a weird thing about, and I'm not sure if that's a good or bad thing about these games, but I'm happy with this game as it is. But when you really think about it, you're on a more powerful console than the 3DS, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
I expected just a little bit more. Like there's actually, I feel like there's longer load strains on the Switch than there is on the 3DS, where like Sun and Moon.
The only times I've experienced any load times is going into the wild areas, and it really isn't that noticeable. Is that the load times you're talking about?
Just going into cities.
Yeah, there
cities
you go.
versus I mean any switch of location really.
Really? Okay.
I didn't think they were that bad though.
They're not that bad, but they're better than the 3DS. What I'm saying is though, is that if they're almost calling like Sun and Moon
Graphically, Sun and Moon is on the same level.
Yeah, and yet Sun and Moon, I believe, perform better than Sword and Shield as far as load times. And it honestly, it's literally like maybe a second or so longer or something like that. So it's not like a bad thing. It's not like something
But
like
you also have to that same point. The maps are so much bigger in Sword and Shield. The maps are so much bigger than they were in the Pokemon Sun and Moon.
Yes, and you know what? I'm not giving the game enough credit
Plus the overworld Pokemon.
Yeah, that's what I was about to bring up.
How hard would it be to just give us a true 3D Pokemon? Like, is that not what we have always wanted?
Didn't they? Wasn't there one released on the GameCube that quite a few people actually played, or it was something like Pokemon DX or something? What was it?
I think you're talking about. It's like the Pokemon Stadium 2, but it was the.
There is a Pokemon Stadium too.
Yeah, I know, but it was like a spin-off of that. I know what he's talking about.
No, I know.
But it was actually 3D.
Oh,
it was actually 3D, world rendered. You're running around. Pokemon 3D game.
But I mean, let's come back. Bring it back. But when it comes down to it, technically, the biggest I guess graphical thing to do is the overworld. But the overworld Pokemon, which is a great addition because you now know what Pokemon you're gonna run into. But overall, graphically, it's just I don't see what's pushing this to this is the next console Pokemon. This is what I wanted from a console Pokemon game.
Yeah, I agree.
I have
graphically, it's not there.
I have no problem with the graphics.
I don't either. To be honest,
My problem sort of has to do with it, I guess. My problem is kind of like what I was saying is that it's the exact same engine as the 3DS one.
right?
Mhm.
And
Like,
Well,
like,
that's
like if,
what Rosie's saying.
right. If you were gonna take like if you got the N64 and you were like, man, we got to get Zelda. Remember how awesome it was on the Super Nintendo? Let's get Zelda on the N64. And then it's like instead of Ocarina of Time, we just got A Link to the Past too. Like it was the exact same. Like it looked the same. It's like,
you know what?
it's like.
And
And by the way, Mario 64 has also just come out in 3D, and they're moving around and everything.
And I didn't want to make that comparison too because I was thinking about like. So this is the console that came out with Mario Odyssey
Right.
and Zelda Breath of the Wild. And yet this Pokemon game feels like another one of Nintendo's like staples. It's so just bland. You know what I mean? Like compared to their other two staples, it's just not on the same level. Like they're not same upgrade level.
Yeah.
And I just found
As far as what about like the Pokemon design? Like the new Pokemon designs.
I'm too old to give two shits about Pokemon design. I saw these things like whatever, as long as the stats are good. I don't care if it's a pool table or something. I'm just gonna catch
That's
it.
the thing about it. This is one of the things where I think I need to talk to some younger people because I'm like, these Pokemon designs look like shit. But like, are the kids happy about it?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there's like maybe a few Pokemon designs, newer Pokemon designs. I was like, oh, that's badass. But majority, like, it's just kind of been going downhill. But majority of them, like, they look
For
like
a very
crap.
long time.
Yeah,
They were going
like-
downhill in the original 150. Do you remember
You
that there's a crab. There is a crab Pokemon.
No, but see, that's the thing about it. No, don't be.
Well, if you
Crab,
want to say
like-
you're running out of ideas, there's
that's
literally a crab.
But that's the thing about it. Pokemon's always have been about animals. Like they're supposed to be animals. Like they always had the design of animals. Like Charmander was like a lizard. Obviously, Squirrel's a turtle. They're supposed to be designed around
Like
after the animals.
Voltorb is
A Pokeball, which is fuck you.
Electabuzz is
But here's
no.
what we realize: design. The Pokemon design is going downhill. We have a Pokemon that's literally ice cream. We have Pokemon that are literally garbage. That's what they are. Like,
yeah.
there's a Pokemon named Vanilla, like or Vanelli or something like that.
Millie Vanilla.
Like, yeah, Millie Vanilli. It doesn't do its own attacks. It has someone else do it.
I will say when I started naming my Pokemon, I caught my first bird, and I just named it Pidgey.
That simplifies it.
And then I caught my. I've seen this Pokemon before. It's like Zigzag Zoo or something like that.
Zigzagoon.
Zigzagoon.
Yeah.
I just named it Rattata.
Yeah.
I was just like, yep. And then I caught my first grass Pokemon, and I was like, Oddish.
But there's Oddish, so why don't you just get the Oddish?
I haven't seen one yet.
Yeah, it's gonna be real confusing when that Oddish pops up. Oddish 2.
Like the turtle that you find, I called it Squirtle.
That Pokemon is so Squirtle, it hurts.
And then like the bugs and stuff, I just was like Caterpie, Weedle. I just kept renaming them names that I already know, so that when it says like so and so forth is evolving, it's like, oh, okay, Pidgey's evolving to Pidgeotto. Gotcha. Because I don't want to learn new names. I don't have time for that.
I can list 3 ways to make this series so much better.
Okay.
Well, actually, technically it's 4. I'll do 4. Okay. The first one is it has to be 3D. Like, make it a true 3D game. This
Breath
is
of the Wild 3D.
Yeah, like freaking adventure game 3D because it's an adventure. Like you can put the 2D stuff on handhelds or whatever because I know they can't handle it, but there's no excuse for it to be in the 2D mode on the Switch. The second, cut the Pokemon down to like 150. You can make them all new Pokemon. That's fine. I don't care. But cut it down to 150.
I think they should release 150 new Pokemon and not have any repeats.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I know it's gonna be a tough sell with like where's Pikachu? Maybe he can be in it like as a weird character or something. I don't know.
They've done this before. They can make different versions of some of the other Pokemon, I guess. Maybe
Yeah, the Galarian region Pikachu.
There you go. He's got a hat. All right.
He's got
the third
English beard.
the third and the fourth are the really important ones, but the first two had to be facilitated before those could happen. The third idea is each Pokemon needs a skill tree. So when they level up, you can choose different ways to edit your Pokemon. But that's why you have to cut down the Pokemon size, because obviously once you have like 900 Pokemon, that gets to be a problem.
I like those. Oh, sorry.
The last one, you should have a skill tree for the trainer, and the trainer can do different things based on how you level him up. Maybe he has different can hold more items, can make his own berries, and do any of that. All that stuff would make this series so much more fun.
Okay.
They're not going to do any of it, though.
They're not. They're not, really. Here's the thing. Pokemon is still doing well, as is. It's one of those things that when it starts hurting in sales, then they'll start making changes. The thing about it is, for the skill tree thing, for 3 at least, remember, this is tailored to kids. They're not going to be able to understand all the skill trees and such.
I think they would. And you could put an auto skill tree thing in there, but I think a child would get it. They're smarter now than we were.
They're used to all the gaming features.
Yeah, they're playing games on freaking tablets and phones when they're like 2 years old.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. I do like the number 4. Number 4 can easily be implemented. Like, make them better breeders. You can get, like, better IVs and EVs.
Yeah, or like they have like you specialize into a water trainer and you can catch water Pokemon easier.
Here's one thing, and I don't think they'll ever do it. I just want to be the bad guy, for one. I just want to be the bad. I want to be part of Team Rocket.
Do you remember Red or Blue when you're on the Nugget Bridge? And once you get to the end of it, they ask you if you want to join Team Rocket?
And I say yes.
I think you can. It's like yes or no, but obviously it doesn't let you join. I swear when I was a kid, that used to torment me.
What?
I was like, yeah, I want to join. Let's do it.
All right.
And then, I never would let me.
That's the thing about it. That's such an easy implementation. But it's like you got to be that good paragon of the hero paragon every time. Just one, and my friend was this. All right, this isn't my complaint, but this is actually one of the complaints of my friend. This Pokemon game is way too handholdy, which I actually do agree with, but it's just way too nice. Like they will heal your Pokemon every time they want to battle beforehand. I remember going through that cave in Red and Blue, and then
you're all fucked up.
You're all fucked up, and then your rival will be right there, like, "Hey, what's up, bro? We're gonna fight right here and there." And it's like, "Oh shit, come on, man!" I'm like about to die, but you still fight them. But then in this one, it's just like, "Let me heal you. All right, let's battle. Oh, that was a good battle. Let me heal you so you can walk off." It's like, come on, man. Like, let's just go.
You got experience all.
Right, yeah. Oh my goodness.
Dude, I did a 5-star raid. Like I grouped up and I saw the little bleep that pops up and it's like, "Hey, do you want to do a raid with your friend?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." I go in there, it's a 5-star raid, and this monster is just one-shotting me like crazy. We end up winning. I catch the Pokemon with just a regular Pokeball, and then I get these extra large rare candies. So I feed one of my Pokemon this extra large rare candy, and he goes up 20 levels.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll explain that in a bit. Because you weren't supposed to be there, Eric. I don't know how they were able to do that with you. Do you know what Pokemon you fought?
The evolved squirrel.
Oh, okay. That was an easy battle.
Leveled up 20 levels.
Yeah. With one of the items you get from it.
Yeah, we'll explain that in a bit.
I thought like an extra large rare candy would maybe give me 2 levels.
No. So they go from extra small, small, medium, large, extra large. Extra large gives you 60,000 experience, which can be one will give you that, and which is an in-game item. So that 5-star was probably you're probably doing that with like people who already beat the game, which is kind of a pro and con of the multiplayer in this game because you can get stuck with no offense, Eric's who are like low level and like kind of should have ruined that raid to the point where they couldn't do it, but you guys got the W, and then you can just beef up like your friends, which doesn't necessarily help because it's not like you're like having them catch up. You just kind of push them ahead, way past where they should be in the story.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, right after that, I went and did my first gym battle, and
Just punked him out.
I did, yeah. I used it on. I was trying to catch up my Vulpix because I was like, oh, I'm about to go fight a grass trainer. I'm going to level up my Vulpix, and I shot him up. He went to level 32. My main character was like 19, maybe 20.
Oh my god.
I literally just used flamethrower for every single fight, and like Rosie said, after every fight, they healed me up, and I was like, oh, I guess I don't even have to worry about running out of PP.
So,
well, you kind of touched on it, Eric, a little bit, but I guess
Yeah,
this
let's get
question is now for Rosie, because I think Eric wanted to ask this too. But what was the multiplayer like?
the multiplayer it's a bit of a mess because I'm trying to play it with friends. When you're trying to do with randoms, you just have to essentially go into these wells that are like literally spewing out this pink ray beam, and you just touch it and invite others, and you'll get random people in your group to kind of join in, which is it's been fun. You fight these powered up Dynamax Pokemon versions of Pokemon you'll find running around, and then you get in there. It's a 4v1 event, and you can Dynamax your Pokemon. At early levels, there's no phases, so they're really easy. You can like one shot them with a couple attacks, and you just use the right typing and have the power for it. But later on, they have phases in the fight in which they'll put up a shield at certain health points, and you have to break down the shields. Break down the shields, rinse and repeat, until you eventually beat the Pokemon.
And you have a limited amount of turns to do it.
Right. So you have 10 turns total, 10 full turns total, essentially rounds of your D&D before it expires. And you have, if 4 Pokemon in your group faint, you failed it that way as well, which with Eric in the group and a 5-star, you should have got worked. I don't know.
Well, the funny thing is that my level 19 Grookey, he did not get one shot.
Wow.
He would hit me, and I would go down to like 5 health points, and then I would use a super potion and go back up to full. So I only died twice in the whole fight.
Wow.
But I did nothing but use super potions.
Tanked?
Yeah.
Even in Pokemon, you're a tank.
Right? So, Rosie, I was told that there was going to be a lot more multiplayer in this game. I was told there was going to be a dungeon crawl where you would go into like a Mount Moon kind of style place. You would travel it, like you would do a dungeon with 2 or 3 other trainers, and you guys would run into battles, and you guys would multi-battle your way through this place to get to some like chance at a rare Pokemon at the end of the thing, like where like a Larvitar or like a Tyranitar would be at the end of this dungeon, or like a Blastoise would be at the end of the dungeon that you guys could all fight and catch. Is that anywhere in this video game?
No, I don't. No, not at all. At least maybe I missed it. No, there hasn't been anything like that. I mean,
can you make them add it? Because I think that sounds awesome.
that would be great, and I don't see why they couldn't do that because you're already you're and so in the wild area in multiplayer when you have online, you can see other people constantly, and you can see what they're kind of doing and such. I don't see how it would be a super hard implication to put your current trainer into a world with your friends and just run around and like do what you said. Essentially, you have like a dungeon raid. But no, hopefully they add that in later. I'll be so hyped for that.
Yeah, I heard that and I was like, all right, I'm getting this thing. And because I read it on like Reddit or something like that, and I was like, oh, that's what's in this game. I'm gonna get it. And I have not heard anyone talk about it since.
Because I don't think it's a real thing. Like real. I don't think it's real. Like anything in like the closest we have is a max raid battle. That's it. And then obviously the trading that you can do, which is a little finicky as well. Because you
Hmm.
can't just so that's one thing I want to complain about.
I'll be right back. My laptop's dying.
Okay. Before I go through the things I didn't like, let me just go back a little bit to the max raid battles, and just simply talk about like the rewards. So the max raid battles are great just because, like you said, you get those experience candies. You have a chance of catching like high IV Pokemon, and you get like skill sets revolve around the type that you're fighting. So if it's water, you'll get like a surf and such. And that's all I want to say about the max raid battles.
We should mention the wilds real quick because I did say like it sucks that it's not in 3D. That seems to be the one place where it is in 3D, and it's. I mean, I guess it's kind of big, but it's also not that big. Like that should be the whole world.
Yeah. So yeah, the wild area is an interesting zone because yeah, it is 3D and it does have those weather changes, which I guess is a maybe a bit graphically hard to do.
I don't think
But
so. I think
I
they've
don't.
already done it.
Yeah.
I don't know. If I'm gonna give this game a number, I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10, and that's being really generous.
Really?
The reason I stay positive with it and not go below 5 is obviously this game is made for kids, not grumpy old me. So maybe for them it works better, and then God bless if that's the case. But for me, this was kind of me coming back to Pokemon after I think the last one I played was X and Y, and just realized it wasn't for me. And now I'm coming back, and I'm like, I'm giving it a shot, seeing what has changed, and if anything, it's reverted. It's got I don't know about reverted, but just gotten like all the things I really didn't like are now worse, more
Yeah.
exacerbated. So I would give it a 6 out of 10, and just say if you're an adult, you probably won't like this game, or at least if you're into RPGs, this game is probably too baby handholdy for you.
If you don't love Pokemon enough,
Yeah, you gotta love Pokemon.
Yeah.
You gotta
because
love Pokemon.
the other thing too, you were saying you haven't played since X and Y. I thought X and Y were great Pokemon games. I thought they did a great job as a Pokemon game. Sun and Moon, Rosie, you were talking about the hand holding.
Oh my
Uh,
god.
Sun and Moon, I was disgusted with.
Yeah.
Like I hated Sun and Moon so much. That Sun and Moon gets like a 2 for me.
And that's honestly when you brought up the wild area, that's what I want Pokemon to be just in general. I want like so what is the point of hand holding if you're gonna have Pokemon in the world be like several levels too high for you? You know what I mean? So what are they
Yeah.
holding your hand for if you're already gonna be fighting Pokemon that are just gonna be too much for you already? So just let me explore the world. Don't stop me for arbitrary reasons.
I heard in some review that you could skip over the tutorial stuff. I was not able to skip over tutorials.
Maybe
I
you
pressed
don't
every
read.
button in the book, and I couldn't
Well,
skip
there
over.
was a option where you could hit skip movies, like skip cutscenes, and
Oh.
you would have to turn that on, but it warned you that it would skip every cutscene.
Right. I don't want to skip every cutscene.
Yeah, it was either on or off, basically. The other thing in there is that some of the dialogue things where it was like, oh hey, you figured out oh, it looks like you figured out that this move is super effective. And it's like you did that a couple times, and it never offered me the tutorial of like what beats what, because I was using super effective moves enough, I guess. But I was
Oh,
never
like-
offered.
right. So it just knows that if you've, if you've done it a couple times, it just kind of gives you a pass on that.
That's kind of what I assumed, because it was like, oh, you use a super effective move. Good job. And like it actually took a second to tell me that.
Yeah.
And then a few other times it did it a couple more times, but I haven't seen it since. But I never got an explanation of make sure you use fire moves against grass Pokemon.
But I kind of like that part. I don't want it to tell me, because that's actually kind of the fun thing I've been doing with my friends as far as doing max race is like doing the max race and looking at like, okay, this Pokemon's water poison. Okay, what do we need to use for this? Okay, we can't use ground because it's water. What's gonna get poison? And us kind of discussing in a group like, okay, this is this. Let's use lightning, and then all right, cool, and then set hut, and then actually picking Pokemon. And then my troll friend who's always gonna use fucking fire against water every fucking time and getting blown up for it. But
Well,
that's
that
what I
just
kind of
sounds
like.
unproductive.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
I just
but-
wouldn't play with him.
Thought
Alright.
about that name.
Eric, I know you've only gotten one gym badge, but so far, what would you give it as a score out of 10?
I'm giving it a 4 out of 10 so far.
It doesn't get better. All right, there's our review of Pokemon.
I just want more multiplayer out of it.
You know what? The crazy thing is, one more thing. We're done with the Pokemon review, pretty much, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
But one thing that kind of brought to light is that when I was doing those max raids, I was like, I want a turn-based multiplayer game that I can just play with my buddies, because that was fun. Just kind of like talking through, and it was simple enough. And it was slow paced, so you didn't have to really like do anything too crazy, but you had to actually strategize what you were doing. So I would really love a game based around their like the multiplayer aspects, like the dungeon you brought up.
Yeah, I was pretty bummed out when I found out that wasn't actually a thing. Because I thought the idea of dungeon crawling through something and actually having to do trainer battles, and like when you started talking about the battle tower, I thought that is what they were talking about, where you did the battle tower and you went up the different floors, battling the different gym leaders to get to like floor 50 or whatever. I thought that was going to be the dungeon crawling thing, but it's just not in there.
All right, let's move on to Mr. Metacritic. Movies. Ford versus Ferrari is at 81. A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood is 80. Richard Jewell, 69. Frozen 2 is 64. 21 Bridges, that's with your friend Rosie, is a 48.
Hey, what you say? What's my friend?
I think that's one of your friends, isn't it?
Who?
21 Bridges. You look him up. Chadwick Boseman.
What the? Shut up. Next one.
All right, games. Red Dead Redemption 2 is at 92. Death Stranding is at 83. JD says he likes it. I'm excited to play that now. JD's saying it's good. Pokemon Sword is at 81. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order is also at 81. And Shenmue 3 is 70. I was thinking
Wait, Shenmue is out?
Yeah, Shenmue 3.
Holy shit! And it's only average,
Did
just
you-
like the original one.
Did you play Shenmue 1 and 2?
No. I heard a lot of people talking about it.
Oh, okay.
giving its praises. So I figured, isn't that the inventor? So from what I heard, it's the inventor of QTEs and such.
Yeah. Yeah, that's where they got their
But-
start. Kind of makes me not want to play it at all.
Right. Well, no. Have you played any of those? God dang it? What's those games called? The Mandalorian. What's not the Mandalorian? The the horror games that came out, the realistic ones.
Oh, like Man of Medan?
There we go. Thank you, Manadan and the Dawn.
Break
Until Dawn.
Until Dawn, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
So
that.
yeah, okay. So Shenmue may not be too bad.
If it's
Unless
like
it's
that,
Shenmue-
it's
Plus.
horrible.
Shenmue 3 QuickTime event.
The game.
Uh-huh.
Oh.
What the hell?
We got to slam X.
Gotta slam X so that he drinks the soda.
You want to play a game of Lucky Hit? That's a little, a little joke about that game. All right, so next week for releases, there's slim pickings. There's nothing good, but I'll just read out some of the highlights that I see. Monster Jam, Steel Titans. Some Gundam game. Who cares about that? Trover Saves the Universe. Weakless. Where the water tastes like wine. Yeah, this is crap.
What?
It's a bunch of nonsense. All right, so it's gonna be a slow week. Maybe we've already gotten the major releases for the year. I'm looking ahead here. It does not look promising. Yeah.
For
Anyway,
movies?
these are games.
Where the water tastes like wine?
Yeah.
What is that for?
Xbox One.
Is that a?
It's coming out for all of them. Everything. Some indie game.
Okay. Sounds like one of those. What is those games called?
Pieces of shit.
No.
Mhm.
Like the venture games.
Combines 2D visuals with a 3D overworld U.S. map. Players wander through the United States and through a century of history to meet a variety of people, each with their own stories to tell.
Quick look here. I'm seeing Life is Strange 2, Episode 5 for the PS4.
Oh my god!
That sounds hella cool.
Big Pharma.
How is anyone played Life is
Big
Strange?
Pharma is coming out for PC.
I played the first Life is Strange. That was plenty.
So no one's played Life is Strange 2. Damn it!
No, I have not.
All right. Google Stadia has released. I have it pre-ordered, but apparently that means I get it on the 26th or the 27th. So I do not have it to review. That sucks.
So how do you get it then?
It's coming in the mail.
I know that, but like it released, but who's playing it right now?
Apparently some people are playing it, and they are a bunch of whiny nerds. I haven't gotten a chance to play it myself, obviously, but some people are getting it. Maybe they pre-ordered before I did or something.
Whiny nerds, like they don't like it.
Oh yeah, people hate this thing. It's the new in thing to hate.
I heard pretty much that you have to have like a perfect internet connection, as well as I heard that they're trying to use predictive algorithms to basically, as you play a game, they're predicting a few steps ahead of you of what you're going to be doing. So like
Serious?
that's how they're rendering and loading things. They're predicting that you're going to turn right at the next at your next opportunity.
That sucks.
What is this? So I don't know.
All right, well, Google Stadia, for those who don't know, Rosie, Google Stadia is the next console that's not a console. All the games are in the cloud. All the games are processed in Google's supercomputers, and all you have to do is connect to it. So everything's online, including your controller. It's all Bluetooth hooked up to your Wi-Fi, and you stream it from Google's servers. You don't have to download games. everything is on Google servers.
It's like watching Netflix, but you have a controller plugged into your Netflix and you're playing games. So all the processing that your console does, it's all done on some server somewhere else.
Okay, now that explains. Okay, thank you, Eric.
Microsoft actually is doing their own thing, which seems a lot better. Project X Cloud actually sounds a lot better because if you combine X Cloud with their Xbox Game Pass,
I have more faith in them. Easily.
I mean, if you're combining those two together, you not only have like the whole cloud-based gaming thing, you also have a bunch of games with it that you don't have to pay for. Google Stadia Pro, you still have to. It's like having PlayStation Plus. You still have to pay for the games.
You think the next Halo is going to be on that?
No. No, in fact, I think they only right now have like 22 games on the Google Stadia.
No, I mean,
yeah, there's
What's that, Rosie?
Will Halo come out exclusively on the Microsoft?
Oh, yeah, of course. Of course it will. But yeah, there's only 22 games, and I think right now you get 2 games for free. And those 2 games are Destiny 2, the full bundle of it, and the game that JD was playing, the fighting game.
Oh, Samurai Showdown?
Samurai Showdown. So those are the 2
really?
games you get. Which
That's not that one.
I would be freaking interested to have JD come over and play that to see what the input lag looks like.
Yeah.
Because he'd be able to tell me. I mean, I could probably guess, but he'd be able to tell me how many frames he's that in tune with fighting games.
Yeah.
So that'd be interesting. But yeah, I wanted to try it for the podcast, but they haven't sent it to me yet. And I looked online, it said 26th and 27th.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So the big things that I've heard is that you have to have like a rock solid internet connection to do it. And they also talked about the predictive algorithm that they're using to figure out what button presses you're going to be doing so that they can pre-load up stuff. And the person that I was talking to about this originally, they were basically like, well, are you even playing a game if it's predicting what you're doing? And I kind of I heard that comment and I was like, well, of course you're playing. It's just, you're just not doing
but it's not.
It's the illusion of choice.
It's not doing the action,
right?
It's loading what you would see if you did the action they think you're going to see.
If it's rendering stuff, does it render enemies or such? Like, what is this again? Like
everything.
Yes,
it's the entire game. It's basically your PS4. Give me your PS4. And I will stream the monitor to your house. Like whatever comes up on the TV will be on your TV,
right?
But the PlayStation will be at my house.
And all your inputs you're sending to Eric's PS4, the PS4 that's at Eric's house.
Yeah.
And then so it sends it over there, and then we send it back to you to your monitor.
I gotta do a little research just because all right. So
technically,
showed up. Sorry. No, go ahead. I've been doing a lot of talk.
I was gonna say technically Google Stadia is free.
Right.
You could log into Google Stadia, their website, and start playing right now.
Okay. I got my name thing. It's Baditch.
Of course it is. What is it? There's no numbers. You're the original Baditch.
I'm the OG Baditch.
Someone's gonna probably buy that name later. But the only thing that's kind of so it's rendering original game, it's rendering its own game. Like if it's rendering Call of Duty per se, how is it rendering predicting my moves if I gotta go forward through a door and shoot somebody?
Well, it's going to assume it's through its predictive algorithms. It's going to assume you're going to run through that door.
That's silly.
and
mean,
it's based off of your inputs into the game. It's gonna say, "Oh, he usually runs through a door and throws a grenade."
okay. But the one time in which I decided, like, hey, maybe I'm gonna take a right
Error.
and go in this corner.
Then the game's gonna lag.
That's nuts. Holy
Well,
man. That's
what we're saying is potential.
Right.
We haven't used it, but that's the assumption is if they didn't render it, it can't be good.
Yeah.
So, so from what I've heard so far, it is not good. People are saying that it is laggy. A lot of the games that are in 4K are basically just upscaled to 4K. They're not like native 4K. Some of them aren't hitting 60 FPS, which was the promise.
Ooh. I hate jumpy FPS.
It's been a rocky start to the Google Stadia. They said that they didn't hit their expectations of pre-orders. A lot of stuff kind of not going right. I really do not like how quick the internet is to just jump on people, but I also haven't played it, so I guess I can't.
He was saying if you have an initial bad go at it, why would you say something positive later? It's like the game industry broken. Do you want consoles to come out to us broken now too? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if a console comes to you broken, I'm not gonna be happy. I'm not gonna give you a pass because it's early. It should be good. It shouldn't be this kind of glitchy mess. Or whatever the mess is, if it's laggy and you're not making up to your promises.
But what if the console's free?
If the console's free?
Uh-huh.
Oh. Yeah, then if it's free, then I have nothing to complain about. But you pre-ordered it. You can pre-order a free thing?
No, I paid $130 for it.
Right. If you pay for it, there we go. Then. If you pay for it,
but technically, you don't have to.
Right. You don't have to do any of that. You could theoretically
log in to just go to stadia.google.com.
Okay.
And you can start playing.
I have to do this because I am under a rock when it comes to this whole topic. Because it sounds like people should be upset, but apparently you guys make it kind of seem like they shouldn't be upset, even though they paid for it. And if they pay for it,
it's complicated because it's a very experimental, but literally everybody's doing it. But PS4 has been doing it with the PlayStation Now. That's been going on for a long time. Xbox is doing it now with their X Cloud thing. I mean, that was their big thing that they did at their presentation. It's the same concept. Everybody's doing it, but it's still very new conceptually. And internet speed, as Eric was mentioning, is a huge component of it. If you have a shit internet speed, this is not going to work.
And you gotta prepare for that. Can you imagine having Xbox Live and then having people expect, or whatever live network you guys, and expecting everyone to have crisp internet, and then just completely punishing people who didn't?
Yeah.
So the thing was, when they first announced this, they basically said hey, all you need is 20 megabytes down and 2 up or something like that, and you'd be able to.
Go ahead. Sorry.
That's what they were advertising as being that's all you need.
That was to play their Pac-Man.
And that's the problem too.
They actually would tell you what your frame rates and what your to get 1080p 60 FPS, you needed 20 megabyte down or something like that, if I remember right.
Yeah.
And
that's all they said you needed.
And here's what I'm hearing already as a problem, being in the dark and just hearing word of mouth from you guys. If they're making a lot of promises of what this is supposed to do and it's not fulfilling it, then they deserve to be shit on for it. Because you don't. If I came over to Spencer's house and he's like, "Hey, be over here at it's 7:57 in Arizona," and I was like, "Be over here at 8:30," and Spencer promised that he'll be there at 8:30, and he doesn't show up, you better believe I'm gonna be pissed off a little bit that he's not there, and he wasted my time coming over there. You know what I mean? No matter how it is, if you promise someone something, and you don't fulfill it, I think I have a right to be upset.
You do, just like all the Destiny 2 players out there right now.
Ooh,
What are they
segue?
upset about?
That's a
They're
great.
upset about
So-
the boss, right?
Yep.
I
So
knew it.
the end of season of the Undying, or was it Undying?
Mm.
Whatever, Vex Invasion. Season of the Vex Invasion. I don't remember the name of it. But the whole premise was that Ikora was building this portal in the tower for you to do this big Vex invasion, and week by week, you saw that portal being created and built, and you kept getting all this story and all this stuff going on about how the Vex invasion's coming, and we need to we're coming to a headway, and we got to take care of this Vex invasion. And then they go, oh yeah, you know that dungeon you guys have been doing? We switched out the boss. We made him easier to kill, and that's the end of the season.
Whoa.
What?
Yep,
What a letdown.
that's exactly what everyone's saying. Is like that. They pretty much. They even responded basically saying like, "Hey, sorry you guys didn't like it," but they didn't. The boss swap that they did. The boss has less health, but he has this like a rotating shield around him, so it's supposed to be harder to like kill him. But they gave him less health, and every other part of this dungeon is exactly the same, just minus that boss swap. Even the loot table has not changed,
But doesn't the boss have a specific story implication?
which they don't even say. They all they say is, "Oh yeah, the undying mind has come for us. Go kill it." And then you kill it, and it's like, "All right, cool, you did it." But the whole thing with the Vex is they're time travelers, so they can see like multiple dimensions, kind of thing, like the multiverse theory.
Okay.
So they go, "All right, cool, you killed it in this version of reality, but now you need to go do it hundreds of thousands of more times
That's
to destroy it in all realities."
You know
So
what
the-
Rosie says about that? He says, "That's some bullshit."
actually, no, I mean that's actually nice. Like it's actually in ways ends, but at least it gives you a story reason on why you have to do raid so many times. You're essentially doing it in different dimensions or different timelines, quote unquote. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, but that was literally it. The entire season led up to a boss swap,
Yeah,
and
that's BS though. That's some bullshit.
So what's
the week before this one, they released like an entire new dungeon and like this challenge mode for the dungeon and all this kind of stuff. And they go, "All right, the final week, the season's over. Here you guys go. We switched the boss on this. Hey, go buy more of our DLC cosmetics out of the shop for $5."
So the next content's on December 10th, right?
I think that's when the next season starts.
That's according to Polygon. They say Destiny players will likely need to wait until December 10th for the next content drop.
Yeah,
Eric, as-
that sounds about right.
Eric, as our like resident Destiny expert.
Nerd.
Okay. Okay. Is it always at the end of each of these DLCs, these games, these seasons, always that carry on the stick of the next big threat?
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much. Sometimes it's like it's always a bigger, badder baddie there. There's always a bigger, badder baddie.
And I
Go ahead.
just want to get your opinion. Do you like that, or is it kind of upsetting that it's like, no matter how big the threat is, you're always constantly killing it, and it's like this is like the bigger, the badder, and it's like, all right, I killed it. This is no. Next thing is the bigger or the badder. like what?
Yeah,
When you guys
it's
say bigger
well,
batter, I think you're talking about like cake batter or something.
Oh, I could go for some cake right now.
Uh,
Some bunt cake. I
No,
want
I
some
know. I was
fucking
stop.
bunt cake.
I was gonna be like, I was like, hey, what's your favorite kind of cake?
That's a Rosie kind of segue. Speaking of cake,
Nothing bunt caked. I just had that for the first time. It's fucking delicious.
Is that a local eatery? I know I've seen it around here. I just don't know if it's a chain.
I think it's a local chain. Like it's just a West Coast thing.
Ah,
I don't
okay.
think it's. But yeah, it's so good. I want it right now again. But Rosie, to answer your question, the bigger, badder enemies constantly. I kind of feel like Dragon Ball Z taught me to accept that as a
You're,
kid.
you're right.
Like
You don't.
I just, it's not a different type of enemy kind of thing. It's always a stronger enemy, and I kind of feel like Destiny is a little mix of that. Like, I mean, there's things like Oryx, who is like a death god kind of thing, or dragon worm god mix thing, where that is going to kill us all. The Vex invasion, it's just more of all the ants that we've already been fighting. Um, I don't know. I think some of the bosses they're just the next threat, but not the. It's not a bigger threat than what we've come across before. Um, like Destiny 2 when it first launched, we had I think it was Dominus Gall, I think his name was, or Gary. Um, when he came out, he was just a big badass cabal. There's nothing really special about him until he figured out how to strip the light from us, kind of thing. So that was a threat that we had to learn how to overcome. But like Oryx from the Taken King, he was a big bad baddie. Like he was like a god that we had to fight. Um, and then there was also like the Whisper's End, where that was another cosmic god that we had to fight. So I don't know. I think Destiny does a mix of uh, larger than reality nuclear apocalyptic bosses versus, and then you have the opposing side of that where you have like a season where it's all about turmoil and like politics amongst the commoners kind of thing.
Interesting. It's just one of those things I think about when it's like if there were different enemy groups coming in and trying to mess up stuff constantly, I would be more okay with that. But it seems like sometimes it's the same enemy group from like a couple seasons before raid. Like for example, who? Not the Vex. Yeah, let's use the Vex for example. The Vex had a raid, right? You beat their
Uh-huh.
ass. Now they're
Uh-huh.
here. It's like, wait, that wasn't our best shot. We got something even bigger. And it's like,
Right.
and it's like, okay, but why didn't you use that initially then? Why are you using it later? And it's like,
This
I feel like at some point you're gonna end up being this new Vex raid, and then it's like, wait, we got even something bigger than that. It's like your whole point is to destroy us. Start
you know
off
what
with
this
this.
you know what the sad part is that I feel like playing Destiny's first raid and Destiny 1, the Vault of Glass. That was the Vex at their finest. This most recent Vex raid was a goddamn joke. It like literally people were speed running the new raid in like 30 minutes. They're doing a full clear of that raid in 30 minutes, and at no point did I ever hear anyone say, "Man, this raid is cool," or "Man, this raid is like super unique or interesting." The only raids that I have heard that on, there's 4 of them that I've heard people like go, "Wow, they did a really good job." Vault of Glass, um, the second one, King's Fall. Is that no, not King's Fall. King's Fall was the third one. Oryx, whatever, the Hive Knight guy, where you start off, you jump in that hole and you like fall down forever.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
The second raid that came out, that one was really good. The Vault of Glass, King's Fall, where you had to fight Oryx, and like he was a giant and he was dropping his hand and you would shoot all that stuff. That was another one. And the only other one that I've heard people talk about is Whisperer's End, or the something Wishing Well or something, what is that one called? Whispering End or Wishing Well? I don't remember what it's called. But you actually fight like a dragon, the last like hive dragon that's also like taken or something like that at the same time. And I guess that raid and like the how beautiful it was, like the environment and everything was really cool. Those are the only 4 that I've really heard anyone talk about. All these other ones are just fillers. Like they just feel like giant dungeons that people plow through in 30, 40 minutes.
Damn, that sucks.
Yeah.
Man, 30, 40 minutes, that feels so finite.
It is very finite.
But not all games are finite. Some games are infinite.
Yes, they are.
So
And that's actually something that I've been wanting to talk to you guys about. What first off, I'll define finite versus infinite gaming. Where you have games like one of my friends recently played Dungeons and Dragons, and I heard he was talking about the story, and I kind of heard him say like he wants the conclusion of the story and all this kind of stuff, and I realized that if you're gonna be a Dungeons and Dragon player, there is no end. There is no okay, we beat the game
there can
because
be.
you just but if like you're really playing Dungeons and Dragons, there's not because you play that character. You've heard people playing that same character for 20 years,
It's some
or
games.
like they keep continuing that story. And I think if you're going to be a Dungeons and Dragons player, you're not looking for like you're not looking for a finite game.
I
You're
agree
not
with that.
looking for a game to end in 5 to 10 minutes kind of thing. You're not looking for a 5 to 10 minute Call of Duty match. You're looking for something that's going to last you months and years, if not, because you want to just. It's just you may not get to the end of the story because the group may fall apart and that kind of thing.
Group will fall apart.
The the group will fall apart. But then you have other games like Minecraft. That's also another infinite game. There's no real end to that game. You just keep playing for the sake of playing. And then you have games like Destiny 2 where there is an end. I beat the raid. I've gathered all the guns. I've collected everything. There's an end to this. Now I'm going to go play a different game. Like even World of Warcraft, you get through all the raids, you get all the stuff. Mega Man, you play through all the levels on Mega Man, you unlock everything, you get to the end, you're done. That is a finite game. When there is a clear, defined end of play, you've beaten it. So my question to you guys is: do you define yourself as? Do you have a preference? Do you personally lean more towards finite gaming or infinite gaming?
Finite, easily for me.
Me as well.
I tend to like finite because I like to know that I'm at the peak of the story versus a reaction to the, you know what I mean? With D&D, I found it to be sometimes just like a villain of the week kind of thing, in which is like, all right, what do we got to fight this time? I like it, don't get me wrong, but I know by the end of when we're done with it, we're going to be doing it again next week, and it's fun, but something compared to like so I'm gonna rewind just a little bit. I actually kind of had this conversation with my cousin earlier today about Pokemon, which he was like, I don't want to get a Switch because I don't want to spend money on a 40-hour game. I would rather be playing. I'm gonna still play World of Warcraft because he has still stuff to do. He's got to prepare for the next expansion. And I was like, oh, okay, I get it because one game is finite, like you said, and he prefers the infinite games of
Mm-hmm.
World of Warcraft. And I this is actually like a great topic. I'm surprised this came up. But yeah, I tend to like games in which, all right, I have beginning and an ending, as opposed to something like World of Warcraft where I'm just constantly gathering and gathering and gathering. and there's just no end. And I feel like I sometimes feel a little unfulfilled because of it.
Yeah, I think it brings up the concept of progress, and I think it's hard to find progress in a game that has no end. That especially that even if it has an end, if it's a game you will never see the end, because like in World of Warcraft, I guess the end, depending on who's playing, the end could be when you hit the max level, or it could be when you get the last bit of gear for a raid, or it could be that you have to level up one of every single class. I don't know. The end to that game is nebulous, and therefore maybe doesn't exist. But I think progress is a big deal for me, probably Rosie, where I like to know that I'm getting to the end and will complete it. Whereas progress in infinite games is more of like
Almost like you want to feel
subjective. Like, am I getting better at a certain skill that's in the game? Maybe like League of Legends. I know it doesn't really fit into either necessarily, because they are finite games, but they're replayable over and over and over again. You could almost consider that an infinite game, in that you never stop. Like, there's never a point where you're done. Even if you're the best, I mean, you go to a competition, you keep going.
I would say that that's an infinite game.
Yeah. It seems like that maybe is what it would be. But your goal is to get better, I guess. But progress isn't really gauged on level of completion. It's just gauged on your own personal understanding of if you're getting better.
I'm sorry. I'm just laughing at the idea of someone playing one match of League of Legends and going, "I beat it!
Yeah.
I beat it! I beat League of Legends!"
Yeah. That'd be interesting. I've known people that have played one game and were done with it, so I guess it happens. Probably not. Their reaction isn't yours, but
Oh my God! Hold up. Go ahead.
No.
No.
Get it.
It's gonna take a second for me to get my answer.
No,
Go ahead.
I would say for League of Legends, is this mastering of the character would be like the ending for me. But that's it. That's all.
How long to beat.com/League of Legends.
oh wow, that'd be interesting.
After it was updated 6 hours ago.
Huh.
They actually have a page.
Okay.
Wow,
League
the Outer
of
Worlds
Legends
is only 11 hours. Oh my god.
What?
Anyway, keep going.
What'd you say?
it says single player ranges from 1,046 hours to 1,906 hours time to beat. Co-op is 835 hours, and versus takes 1,195 hours to beat.
What is beating those games? What is co-op? Like, gets
I
me
think
way
people
out?
I think people are just screwing around.
I'm just saying how many hours they've played.
Yeah, because there's a completionist, and it says 1,924 hours and 48 minutes
God damn.
is the
Well, yeah.
average.
And Spencer, how many hours you put in?
Probably about that.
Yeah.
Put in a lot of hours.
It's hilarious to me that they're even on here.
I mean, there was a time in my life where I would come home and play it for 4 or 5 hours a night. So if you extrapolate that data, and weekends it's more than that. Yeah, it's probably around there.
That's how I was with WoW. I'd literally put 2 hours in before I'd wake up early to put in an hour to 2 hours into WoW before I went to work. I would then go to work and remote desktop into my computer via my phone.
Damn.
And use the auction house on my lunch breaks and stuff. And then I would get home around 4 or 5, and I'd play until about midnight every night. So I was easily putting in 7 to 8 hours a day into World of Warcraft.
Jeez. Well, speaking of, what is your take on finite versus infinite gaming? Which do you prefer?
I prefer infinite. Most every game that I look back on, and it actually has a lot to do with multiplayer. the games that I've played the longest amount of hours into have all been multiplayer games for me, where it's like World of Warcraft for me. It was something for all my friends to get on and go do stuff, and I literally would just go help them do whatever they were looking to do. I didn't really care about progressing my character too much. I did that in the other 6 hours I played by myself. Uh, the 2 hours I played with my friends every day, I was like, "What dungeon you want to do? What raid do you want to do? What PvP? Let's go open world. Go find this or that. Hey, let's go play Barbie dress up with our World of Warcraft characters and make them look pretty." Uh, I never really got into the single game experiences. I was actually looking back on some of the games that I've played over the last, well, going back before we started the itch. Oh, excuse me. It's a long day. I've been thinking about some of the other games that I had played before we started the itch, because once we started the itch, I actually started opening my horizons and playing more games that I normally wouldn't. Um, but for the most part, like I would play Pokemon, and my goal was to catch all 151 Pokemon, and that would take hundreds of like just nonstop hours on top of leveling all of them up and making different teams of all the blue Pokemon I could find, even if they weren't water Pokemon. I had to find all the blue ones, and make a team out of them and make them strong enough to go through the Elite Four. And it just
you're a freak.
it was just like I would make a game inside of my game. I wouldn't just play the game for what it was telling me I had to play. Like in Destiny, at a certain point, Destiny 1, when most of the content was I already chewed through all the content. My friends and I would play hide and go seek inside of Destiny. We would turn all of our HUDs off so you couldn't see your mini map. We'd go into a room and we'd define the boundaries of our hide and seek map. And we'd say, all right, everyone, or the seeker, look at the ground and count down from 120. And then we'd all run around and try and find a hiding place. We'd find a hiding spot and be like, okay, come and find us. And then the last person got picked. It was just the same rules as hide and seek, but we're playing a game inside of a game, that just made that game infinite. You could keep playing that game forever because we were making games inside of games, because it was just about playing with my friends. Which is why games like Minecraft like end up lasting the how long it's lasted. And the fact that I had a bunch of friends right now that just went back to Minecraft because of some update that just popped up. Holy shit! You about pushed me out of the chair.
Well, I could tell you which games are more profitable. Definitely Infinite,
Oh yeah,
because you never
definitely.
stop playing.
Yeah, you put $60 into that game, you play for 100 years, and then you keep buying the $5 little trinkets that they offer.
Yeah. So probably see more of those coming out. I guess
Yeah.
that was the whole single player debacle that was going on like a year ago. Them saying, like EA saying they're not profitable anymore. I can see.
Yeah.
I can see what they're saying. It makes sense.
I don't think
Yeah.
so.
It's. I don't see not profitable, but I certainly see not as profitable.
If you just look at Final Fantasy VII, the remake. How many hours have people put into the original Final Fantasy VII? Now, they just looked at that and said, we could release the whole game all at once, or we could release 4 versions of the game, 4 parts of the game, and make $240 per person.
Isn't that because of graphical reasoning and all that?
No.
Wait, they're not doing that though, right?
Final Fantasy VII remake?
It's releasing.
Yeah.
It's releasing in waves, but you just pay for the one game, don't you?
Nope.
Wait, each chapter is $60?
Yep.
Oh, look that up. Hold
I'm
up.
looking that up.
That's nuts. That's insane. Because how long are those chapters?
If they don't do that,
shit.
if they don't do that, they're stupid.
That's according to this game facts. That's correct, but this is just people. Whoa. I thought it was like a Life is Strange kind of thing.
Yeah, an episodic game where you just pay for the whole thing, $60.
They'd be stupid to do that.
I mean, but they came out with Final Fantasy 15, and that's a $60 game, and it has just as much hourly content. So, nuts. I mean, I can see why they would like maybe do like a 1 and 2, but $200.
I think it's three discs or 3 releases.
Oh, it's 3 releases. Okay, so 180.
So $180.
Okay.
Plus tax.
Fuck Texas. But golly though, ooh, that's nuts. I mean, I can see it both ways, but man, I guess that's just a shocker for me that they're gonna be putting them all 3 and having a total of $180. And the thing is, people are gonna pay for it easily.
Yeah, it looks like according to comicbook.com, which is not a video game site, is that the first release, this was June 21st, 2019. They're saying that the first release will be 20% of the original game.
Okay, standard edition will cost $60. Deluxe edition is $80. But it doesn't say, it just says remake. Obviously, we know it's episodic content. So,
let's maybe we just look into it. We'll just keep our eyes on it.
Yeah, this is something we're gonna have to look into. I was under the strict impression it was gonna be not that. Dude, but honestly, if they did that to any game, this is the one to do it, right?
Exactly.
Damn.
And the thing is,
well, you know what though? If they change it enough and spread it out and make them like legit big games, each like section, I guess I'd be okay with that. But it'd have to be like 40 to 60 hour games each.
Yeah, which is completely doable.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, it's doable. Do I trust them to not just make it like a farming thing? I don't know.
Yeah, where if they start tunnel visioning you where it's like, all right, it'll be 40 hours because we're putting you in traffic. We're going to put you in this bumper to bumper traffic and you have to walk as your dude explains line by line. Hey man, we're Avalanche. Take 2 steps. We're going to go blow up the reactor. Take 2 steps.
Right, yeah.
If they put you in...
though. Final Fantasy 15 gave me a little bit, like, hope for them.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the one game I still need to play, like, above all others. It's like sitting there and I'm like, I want to, but something else pops up. And I fell asleep when I was trying to play it the first time.
I can see that, too.
Just the concept of it
it's slow.
Makes me bored.
I didn't dive far enough into Final Fantasy 15 because there is so much more with all the dungeons you can crawl at the end game. I never touched any of those because by the time I got to that stuff, my friends that were also playing the game, it's not like they spoiled so much of it for me and basically told me that it's not really worth it without me ever being like, oh, I guess I'll give it a shot and see. They basically were like, it's just something to challenge yourself with. There's no real rewards at any of this stuff. It's like, oh. But it would have, like, had I not been spoiled, I probably would have gone and done it.
Sometimes it's a challenge. Yeah, I guess it depends on how much you're enjoying the game, too. Sometimes just the challenge alone is fun enough.
Yeah, I wasn't enjoying it. I enjoyed it, but not enough to
do anything, like, out of the way-ish.
Yeah, to do I did the side stuff and whatnot, but to do like an extremely hard, like get the masterwork weapon I didn't enjoy the game that much.
Hey, Jimmy Spleen is on.
Who
Hey,
dat?
Jimmy Spleen.
Oh, that's your brother, right?
Yeah.
Who needs avatars? Well, I'm excited for it now. Less so. Thanks a lot, Eric. Put a damper on that. But otherwise, that's all the news for this week.
Yeah.
Make sure to check us
Yeah.
out. Like, comment, subscribe. Send us questions. I put out a thing. If you don't have us on Facebook, add us there. I'm going to start asking for questions on Facebook so we can have a little Q&A thing. So
That'd be
make
dope.
sure you hit us up there. Give us some questions. We can answer them. Other than that, Eric, you got anything to say to the people?
No, actually, I got nothing.
Rosie, you got anything for the people?
Yeah, catch all 400 Pokemon. That's all.
All right. Jimmy Spleen, it's been a pleasure. And everybody else, I'll see you guys next week in the Future Zone.
Toodaloo.